arguments.
Comment, conversation. Cristo.
Cristo. This is The Truth.
Cristo.
On Talk Radio. The home of common sense.
Evening to you. It is a Friday evening. And don't forget, I'm back tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock here on Talk Radio. Yes, I'll be here with breakfast tomorrow, taking you through the morning with all the newspapers and everything else besides. Bit of showbiz thrown in too, and a couple of the biggest stories of the week as well we will review on tomorrow morning's breakfast programme. But we still have another hour here on Talk Radio. Coming up later this hour, well, I think he is a Grange Hill legend. Lee McDonald, who played Zammo in Grange Hill. That was my era of Grange Hill. You wouldn't even know what Grange Hill is, would you? Grange Hill, which was, of course, oh my God, I used to love Grange Hill. It used to be on, I think, on a Tuesday and a Friday at 5:10. Mrs. McCluskey, who, of course, was the head teacher at the time. Mr. Bronson as well, Pogo Patterson, Stew Pot, Tucker, Gripper, all of those people, Jackie and Zammo, all of those characters. Well, they're set to make a return in a Grange Hill movie. We'll get the lowdown from Lee McDonald, who played Zammo in the original Grange Hill, a little later this hour. In a moment, we'll get an update as well on what's been happening stateside. So many of you as well want to talk as well about whether hard work gets you where you want to be, and whether making that point is disrespectful, is wrong. You are making me think, to be honest, about this point, different perspectives. But I think that by making the point, I don't know whether people should take it so personally that doesn't work out for everyone. Of course, hard work isn't going to work for absolutely everyone, but the message that you should still work hard is a sound message. Because the alternative is, well, hard work doesn't work for everyone, so don't bother working hard. Can you imagine if that was the message we were giving to people? To younger people? No. 0344 499 1000 if you wish to join the conversation on that. All of that right here. This is Talk Radio.
Cristo on Talk Radio.
But let's talk now with an update as to what's been happening stateside with the White House correspondent at Real Political News, Professor John Christopher Buer, who joins me now. Evening to you.
Hello, Cristo. Nice to see you. Smiling
nice
face.
To see you too. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us tonight here
Always.
on Talk Radio. Now, obviously, we've seen a lot in the last 24 hours regarding the January 6th attacks on the Capitol of the United States, and many people talking about the circumstances behind it. A lot of controversy about the way in which it was being presented as well, the terminology being used about it, who was to blame about it. What can you tell us about the way in which the year on from that has been acknowledged in the last 24 hours?
Well, we're all very clear that those who wanted Joe Biden to show some real strength and to be forceful about declaring Donald Trump a traitor, a liar, and the progenitor of the big lie, where he started to build up this idea about how this election was going to be a fake and a fraud from way before it even happened, from way before November. He built up this whole mass, and he brought along his MAGA disciples, as I call them, to make it seem like no matter what happens, the ballots will be stolen. They'll be wrong. They're not going to be mailed in. They're going to take the mailboxes off the streets, so he can't get them. And he was out there way in front of this. And then when it came, he said, "We won. I told you we won. We won." You know, it was the big lie, and people were waiting to see. And I know you were also, and many of your colleagues wanted to see Joe Biden show some real strength and some real determination and put Donald Trump in his place and expose him for the liar that he is. And Joe Biden did it yesterday. And I'll tell you, many people who are progressives, who are waiting for this, Democrats, took a real sigh of relief. They said, "That's our boy, Joe. Way to go. You put him down. You exposed him for what he is. Not only that, you did it in the halls of Congress where these insurgents came with Nazi flags and Confederate flags and tried to defile our country and our nation and to tear our country down. And if you've ever been to the Capitol, and I've been to Parliament, they are holy places. These are to be revered, not to be destroyed."
I mean, Trump has always denied that he attempted to incite that, though he did send some rather provocative tweets at the time. He's no longer actually on Twitter. I mean, that alludes to directly before this happened. But of course, you are right to say that this narrative had been building well before the election, that the election would somehow be stolen from him. But I guess my question is, how much can the blame be put at Donald Trump's feet?
Well, if you look at the day, and I was there as a reporter, as a White House correspondent, he was there in the south part of the White House on the ellipse, and he was telling people that we have to fight, that he's going to march with them down to the Capitol because we have to fight for what's right in America. And he brought Giuliani in there, that crackpot, and he said, we're going to have a battle of a combat. This is a trial of combat. And he got all his goons there, and he inspired these people. He inflamed them. They went down to the Capitol, and lo and behold, Trump was not there. He was at his residence watching it on video and watching it over and over again and doing a dance to the sound of the crashing of the glass.
I agree that Donald Trump was wrong to do that regarding the election. You know, I looked into the data, I looked into it specifically, and I think that his fatal flaw as well was announcing that the election had been stolen before the results were even counted, which would imply that, you know, that it's more of a narrative than actually waiting for the results to come in. I mean, you'd have more credibility if the results, every vote had been counted, and then you said, right, I think it's a fix. But halfway through the votes being counted, saying it's a fix, I found that staggering and wrong. And I think the biggest shame about it, I was no huge fan of Trump the man, but I do acknowledge he actually did some good while he was president. I mean, the economy seemed to be doing okay. He seemed to, I know that a lot of people as well in some of the more marginalised communities there, a lot of African American people saw their employment prospects rise whilst Donald Trump was president. And I just wondered, do you think that what Trump actually ended up doing was undermining some of his legacy that was not so bad, some of the good stuff he did, because now Trump is associated with the narrative of stealing the election? No one actually talks about anything good he did, and there was some good he did.
Well, the economy is better now. Unemployment is lower now, and Biden was on earlier talking about the numbers. He has tried to sue anyone who would disagree with him. Now, no president is responsible for the economy alone. Okay, it is a combination of things. It is the world economics, as you know this, Cristo. You're a smart guy, but I have to tell you something. What was surprising to me and to his fellow, I should say, he's no longer a Republican. I grew up near him. He has no ideology. Okay, he's not a Republican. He's just he is what he is. Wherever he can get some traction. Now, the fact is, one interesting thing to see was Dick Cheney, who was a long-term congressman from Wyoming and a vice president, which means he presided over the Senate, vice president of the United States. He came there for that moment of silence with his daughter, Lynn Cheney. And it was remarkable to see Liz Cheney, excuse me, Lynn is his wife, lovely lady, also a great author. Liz Cheney was with him, and they bowed their heads for a moment of silence, and they were the only two Republicans to be there. And Dick Cheney, if I may quote him, said, "The importance of January 6th as an historic event cannot be overstated. I was honored to be proud to join my daughter on the floor of the House to recognize this anniversary. Now, the Republican Party is no longer the party of Dick Cheney. Democrats were not in love with Dick Cheney, to say the least. However, what he showed was a bit of the old Republicans, the real Republicans, before they were kowtowing and become disciples of Trump, where they were the Lincoln Republicans, the Eisenhower Republicans, the G.H.W. Bush Republicans, even the George Bush Republicans, who were faithful to the guidelines and the strictures of the Republican Party, which is conservatism and clarity.
But again, hasn't this anniversary also, and I'm not saying that he endorsed it at all, but it's been something of a gift for Joe Biden to be able to assert his authority, bearing in mind he has been quite a disappointment as a president thus far. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything particularly impressive from him. And I think that the big moment that he could have had, I prefer him as an orator. I like the fact that he references the people rather than himself constantly. It was nice when he gave his address as president that it felt like there was an adult in the room. But his big moment, Afghanistan, he 100% dropped the ball. It was appalling the way in which he presided over the withdrawal of Afghanistan. And what's more, had that have been Trump, the American media would have torn him to shreds. So hasn't this moment been a gift for Biden where he can actually say, let's get the agenda back to blaming Trump for everything? You're forgetting one thing, Cristo. Go on. The fix was in. Trump had already made arrangements that he'd be out of there in March, and he handpicked two Pakistani hoodlums in prison to run Afghanistan. And that's how the Taliban took it. But Biden had months to reverse that. Biden had months to change that. Yes, I agree. I understand that. And that Trump had put in a deal that clearly was not going to work out particularly well and had already been breached and betrayed. But Biden had been president for absolutely months before the withdrawal. He could have stopped the withdrawal. He could have reneged on the withdrawal. He could have brought in different measures or done a different negotiation. He can't blame it on Trump 6 months previously. Well, it's easy to blame it on Trump because Trump had absolutely no idea what he was doing, and he's in bed with Trump. Wasn't president then. That. But I will say this. I don't agree, and you know me by now, I don't agree with everything Joe Biden has done. I've known him for 30 years. He's definitely an honorable man. But did he need to withdraw from Afghanistan? It could not be changed without going to war with the Taliban. Did he want to go to a full-scale war with the Taliban? I don't know. The history books will have to work that out, and the historians will work that out. Is it a good thing? I don't think it is. But he's done some remarkable things, especially when it comes to COVID and getting that movement going. And I know you're having your own issues in the UK about that. And he's working towards making sure that people are vaxxed. He says, get your vaccinations. And he wants to mandate that. He wants to make sure people get vaccinated, constantly wear your masks. He is a firm believer in the science. And it was Trump who said, it'll be gone in 15 days. Don't worry about it. So, and he had. I think what we've demonstrated, Joe Biden. I think what we've demonstrated in this conversation is what a diabolical choice America had. I think with both of these men. I'm sorry, I did have high hopes for Joe Biden, and I've found him to be. Well, how do you feel now, Cristo, after that speech? I feel. Let me put it on you. I can't help but feel that Joe Biden felt it was a gift. Great, it's great. He's shown strength. Now. What is it, a year after becoming president? But I feel like he has had multiple opportunities in the last 12 months to assert his authority. I think on that, I'll just repeat that. The only time he's had the chance to show he had any kind of authority was when it came to sticking the boot into Donald Trump, and it's very easy to blame the previous guy when it's never done. By the way, I just want you to know it was unprecedented that a president will go into Congress and basically ream out Donald Trump for the liar that he is and the instigator that he is, and really bearing on treason. And he will probably not be able to run again because of various
strictures we have in this country, including the 14th Amendment, which in Section 3 says if you are convicted or assumed of having committed an act of this kind, you will not be permitted to run. So
all right.
We'll see. And there is a January 6th committee going on. And guess what? For all the Brits out there, it's going to be broadcast live, and you can watch it on the telly.
Where?
Well, I'm sure CNN will cover
it. Oh, yeah. I don't know if many of the people on Talk Radio like watching CNN, but I take your point. Listen, John Christopher Buer, thank you for taking the time this evening here on Talk Radio. A very spirited discussion. I have to say, what a disappointment Biden's been, what a disappointment Trump was. I mean, I just think that, good grief, Trump versus Biden, Boris versus Corbyn. What a choice we all had. Diabolical. Coming up, well, we'll make the choice to talk to some of you, and then in about 10 minutes' time, we'll talk to Zamo from Grange Hill, all here on Talk Radio.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk Radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.